Rotten Vows. Chapter 1. I found you bleeding. The second the walker's teeth sank into her shoulder, Ilara Voss knew she was going to die. No dramatic wind. No silent monologue. Just burning, tearing pain, and the wet gurgle of the infected thing pinning her to the cracked asphalt. She'd made a stupid mistake. Split from her group to scavenge antibiotics for her sick sister. Now her sister was probably dead, and she was about to turn. The walker's rotted jaw pressed closer, cold saliva dripping down her collarbone. Then a bullet blew its skull apart. The corpse collapsed on top of her, heavy and rank, and Ilara gasped, staring up at the man who'd just saved her life, or ruined it. He stepped over the dead walker like it was nothing, boots crunching through splattered grey matter. Tall, brutal, unsmiling. A black tactical vest slung over his broad chest, 2 pistols holstered at his hips, a hunting knife strapped to his forearm. His eyes were pitch dark, no warmth, no mercy. Kale Rayner. The ruthless lone survivor every scavenger whispered about. The man who left injured allies behind without a second glance. The man who didn't save people. Until he'd saved her. He crouched down, one hand shoving the dead walker off her body, the other locking tight around her jaw, forcing her face up. His grip was cruel and gentle, possessive. Bite mark. His voice was low, graveled, lethal. You're infected. Ilara's blood ran cold. She tried to push him away, weak and shaking, her body already burning with the first fever of the rot. Let me go. I'll leave. I won't hurt anyone. Kale's thumb dragged hard over the open bite wound on her shoulder, making her flinch and whimper. He didn't soften. He didn't care that she was hurting. The rot spreads in 12 hours. You turn, you kill the first person you see. He leaned in, his face inches from hers, breath sharp and cold. And I'm the only person here. She stared at him, terrified and desperate, hate mixing with a twisted, helpless fascination she couldn't shake. He was dangerous. Evil by survivor standards. But he'd saved her when everyone else would have run. Then kill me. She whispered, broken. Get it over with. For a long, torturous second, he said nothing. His dark eyes raked over her face, her trembling lips, the blood seeping through her shirt. He studied her like she was not a dying girl, but a problem he was deciding to keep. No. The single word shocked her silent. Kale stood, hauling her up by her injured arm without care for her pain. She cried out, stumbling into his hard chest, and he locked an arm around her waist, pinning her tight against him so she couldn't squirm away. I'm not killing you. He muttered, his voice dark and possessive. You're mine now. Until the rot takes you. And if you turn, I'll be the one to break your neck. No one else gets to touch you. Ilara's heart slammed against her ribs. This was not rescue. This was captivity. He dragged her toward a black armored SUV parked off the roadside, shoving her into the passenger seat and slamming the door shut. He locked it from the outside, blocking any chance of escape. When he climbed into the driver's seat, he turned to her, eyes cold and unyielding. You don't run from me. You don't speak to other survivors. You don't make a single move I don't allow. Why? Ilara snapped, anger cutting through her fear. Why keep a dying girl alive? Kale started the engine, the vehicle rumbling to life, his gaze fixed on the empty road ahead. His answer was quiet, brutal, and irreversible. Because I've been alone for 2 years. And I'm tired of it. Even a dying girl is better than nothing. That was the start of their rotten, forbidden love. A love born in death, bound by infection, doomed from the very first second. Chapter 2 Captured. Ilara spent the next 6 hours trapped in Kale's SUV, burning up with fever, her shoulder throbbing with every heartbeat. The rot was crawling through her veins, slow and cruel, turning her blood hot, turning her mind fuzzy. She should have been terrified. She should have begged for release. Instead, she found herself watching him. Cale drove with lethal precision, eyes scanning every tree line, every shadow, every distant shuffle of infected. He never relaxed. Never blinked wrong. He was a weapon forged by the apocalypse, sharp and unbreakable. And he was keeping her alive against all logic. "You're wasting supplies," Ilara mumbled, delirious from fever. "I'm going to turn. You know that." Cale didn't look at her. He reached into the back seat, grabbed a sterile syringe and a vial of experimental antiviral serum, rare, priceless, the kind of thing people killed entire groups for. Ilara's eyes widened. "That's your last serum. Don't." He grabbed her wrist hard, yanking it toward him, and injected the serum straight into her vein without hesitation. The burn was immediate, icy and violent, making her gasp and shudder. "Shut up," he ordered, voice rough. "I decide what I waste. Not you." The serum wasn't a cure. Everyone knew that. But it slowed the rot. Stalled the infection. Gave her more hours, more days. Days he was choosing to give her. Ilara stared at him, confused and raw. Why risk this for a stranger? Finally, he turned his head, his dark eyes pinning her in place. The look in them was not kindness. It was obsession. A quiet, dangerous possession. "You think I do this for strangers?" He leaned in, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous purr. "I don't save people, Ilara. I take them. And I've taken you." Her breath caught. Before she could reply, movement flashed on the roadside. 3 armed male survivors stepped out from the trees, blocking the road, guns raised. They were scavengers, greedy, desperate, the worst kind of men in the apocalypse. "Stop the truck," the lead man shouted. "Hand over supplies and the girl. We'll let you live." Ilara's blood turned to ice. She knew what men like this did to lone women in the end of the world. She'd watched her best friend get stolen by a group, just like them months ago. Cale's entire body went rigid. The casual coldness on his face dropped completely, replaced by a murderous rage Ilara had never seen. His hand drifted slowly to his pistol. "They looked at you," he said, so quiet she barely heard it. "They dared to look at what's mine." Ilara's throat went dry. This was jealousy. Brutal, apocalyptic, unhinged jealousy over a girl he'd known for less than a day. Pure dark romance chaos. Cale didn't negotiate. Didn't hesitate. He opened fire in 2 silent, perfect shots. The 2 flank men dropped instantly, headshots before they could blink. The lead man panicked, raising his gun, but Cale was already out of the SUV, moving faster than humanly possible. He tackled the man to the ground, pinning his neck under his boot, pressure crushing his windpipe. The scavenger gasped, begging for mercy. "Please. I didn't know she was yours. I'm sorry." Cale's gaze didn't flicker. His voice was cold, unforgiving, possessive beyond reason. "No one touches her. No one looks at her. No one even breathes in her direction without my permission." He pressed harder. The man died choking on his own apologies. Ilara watched from the passenger seat, shaking, her fever forgotten. She should have feared him. She should have hated him for his violence, his cruelty, his captivity. But her heart raced for him. For the broken, brutal man who killed for her before he even knew her name. Cale walked back to the SUV, blood splattered on his knuckles, his face completely emotionless. He opened her door, leaned down, and grabbed her chin again, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You see that?" he whispered. "That's what happens when they try to take you from me." "You're insane," Ilara breathed. A dark, twisted smile tugged at his lips. "I'm yours. And you're mine. Insane is just the only way to love someone in the end of the world." Chapter 3 Rotten Intimacy. Night fell fast, and Cale drove them off the main highway to a locked, abandoned cabin deep in the woods, his private safe house, a place no other survivor knew existed. He locked every door, boarded every window, set tripwire traps around the perimeter. He didn't trust the world. He trusted nothing but his own control. And now he trusted her, in the broken way a monster trusts the only light he's ever found. Ilara's fever spiked worse that night. The serum was fading, the rot fighting back, her shoulder wound burning like fire. She collapsed against the cabin wall, vision blurring, body trembling uncontrollably. Cale caught her before she hit the floor, lifting her effortlessly into his arms. For the first time, his touch was gentle, hesitant, like he was afraid of breaking her. He carried her to the small bedroom, laid her on the clean mattress, and knelt between her legs to treat her wound. Ilara stared down at him, dizzy and raw, as he cleaned the infected bite with antiseptic, his hand steady despite the brutal redness of the wound. "You should let me die," she whispered again, broken. "I'm a liability. A ticking time bomb." Cale paused, his fingers brushing softly over her skin, a contrast so sharp it hurt. He looked up at her, his dark eyes full of a pain he never showed anyone. "I lost everyone I loved before the outbreak," he said, quiet enough she almost missed it. "I watched my entire family turn. I held my little sister while she died. I've spent 2 years with nothing but blood and silence. You think I care if you're a liability?" He gripped her hip, pulling her closer, his voice desperate and dark. "You think I'd choose loneliness over you, even if you're rotting from the inside out?" Ilara's breath shattered. This was the secret no one saw. The ruthless killer was just a broken boy starved for love, starved for connection, clinging to a dying girl like she was his last hope. He finished bandaging her shoulder, his fingers lingering on her skin, his gaze locked on her lips. "I shouldn't want you," he muttered, conflicted. "You're good. Soft. Alive. I'm ruined. Blood and darkness. But I do." He kissed her then. It was not a gentle kiss. It was rough, desperate, possessive, a kiss born of 2 years of loneliness, 2 souls broken by the apocalypse, clinging to each other in the dark. Ilara kissed him back without hesitation. She knew it was wrong. Knew he was dangerous, knew she was dying, knew their love was rotten and doomed. But in a world of death, wrong was the only thing that felt alive. When they pulled away, Cale rested his forehead against hers, his breathing heavy, his guard completely dropped for the first time in years. "If you turn," he whispered, voice breaking, "I'll kill you. But I'll die right after you. I won't live without you now." Ilara's eyes filled with tears. She cupped his blood-streaked cheek, her touch soft against his hard edges. "Then don't let me turn. Save me. Please." Cale pulled her into his chest, holding her tight like he could shield her from the rot, from death, from the entire broken world. "I'll try," he promised. "I'll burn the whole world down before I let you leave me." Chapter 4 Betrayal. The next morning changed everything. Ilara woke up to shouting outside the cabin, familiar voices she'd thought she'd never hear again. Her old group. The people she'd abandoned to save her sister. The people who'd left her for dead hours ago. And at the front of the group, Jude Carter, her ex-boyfriend, the man who'd broken her heart before the apocalypse, the man who'd sworn to protect her and then ran when the infected came. Jude's voice cut through the cabin walls, loud and furious. Ilara. I know you're in there. Come out now. That man is a killer. He's manipulating you. Ilara froze, panic flaring in her chest. Cale went deadly quiet beside her. His eyes turned black with rage, his entire body tensing like a predator about to strike. Your ex, he said, flat and dangerous. The one you loved before. It wasn't a question. He could hear the history in her silence, the guilt in her eyes. Ilara scrambled out of bed, shaking. Cale, it's not like that. He left me. He abandoned me. He's here for you. Cale cut her off, his voice cold and broken. He's here to take you away from me. Toxic, possessive jealousy exploded through him, irrational and all-consuming. In his 2 years of loneliness, no one had ever dared to take what was his. No one had ever dared to compete for the only person he'd ever cared about. He grabbed his pistol, standing tall, his gaze fixed on the door. Stay inside. He ordered. Don't move. Don't speak. Don't look at him. Cale, don't kill him. Ilara begged, grabbing his arm. Please. He's not worth it. Cale looked down at her, his eyes full of hurt and rage and love all twisted together. He's trying to steal my girl. He's absolutely worth killing. He walked outside, leaving her trapped inside the locked cabin. Ilara rushed to the window, peering through the cracks, her heart pounding. Jude stood at the front of 6 armed survivors, his eyes sharp and desperate, when he saw Cale step out. Let Ilara come with me. Jude shouted. You're holding her captive. She doesn't want you. Cale laughed, a dark, bitter sound. She kissed me last night. She slept in my arms. She's mine. You lost her long before the world ended. You manipulated her while she was sick and delirious. Jude snarled. She's infected. You're just keeping her to use her. That was the worst insult possible. Cale's smile dropped. I'd die for her. He said, lethal. You ran from her when she needed you. You have no right to speak her name. The standoff ignited instantly. Jude's group opened fire, bullets slamming into the cabin walls, wood splintering everywhere. Cale moved like a shadow, returning fire with precise, deadly shots, taking down 2 of Jude's men in seconds. Chaos erupted outside. But the gunfire drew something far worse than human enemies. Hundreds of walkers, drawn by the loud noise, began shuffling from the tree lines, pouring toward the cabin in a massive, unstoppable horde. Both groups froze, horror sinking in. They'd started a war. Now the dead were coming for all of them. Chapter 5 Horde Trap. Horde incoming. Someone screamed. Jude's group scattered in panic, abandoning their weapons, turning to run into the woods, straight into more infected. Cale didn't run. His only thought was Ilara. He spun on his heel, sprinting back to the cabin, slamming the door open and grabbing her by the waist, yanking her into his chest. We have to go now. He shouted over the growing moans of the horde. 5 minutes until they breached the walls. Ilara stared past him, watching Jude get cornered by a group of walkers, trapped and screaming. Her ex was going to die. Old feelings, old guilt flared up in her chest. She tensed, ready to run to help him. Cale saw the movement, saw the hesitation, and his face shattered. He grabbed her jaw, forcing her to look only at him, his voice broken and furious and terrified all at once. You choose right now. He growled. Him or me. Live or die. No in between. The ultimate dark romance choice. The classic toxic love triangle climax. Walkers slammed into the cabin walls outside, thudding loud and relentless, the wood beginning to crack under their weight. Time was gone. Ilara's eyes filled with tears, but her choice was instant, unhesitating. She grabbed Cale's collar, pulled him down, and kissed him hard, desperate and final. You? She whispered against his lips. Always you. I choose you. Every time. Even if you're broken. Even if we're doomed. Cale's entire body relaxed, the rage melting into raw, desperate love. He lifted her into his arms, holding her like she was his salvation. Jude screamed in the distance as the walkers pulled him down, his final shout her name. Ilara didn't look back. Cale carried her out the back emergency exit, sprinting through the woods, away from the horde, away from her past, away from every mistake she'd ever made. They ran until their lungs burned, until the moans of the dead faded behind them, until the only sound left was their heavy breathing and the beat of their hearts, tangled together. Chapter 6. The infection peaks. They collapsed in a hidden cave deep in the forest, safe from the horde, safe from survivors, safe from everything but the rot growing inside Ilara. Her fever spiked to deadly levels that night. The serum was completely gone now. The infection was taking over her body, fast and irreversible. Ilara could feel it in her bones. The hunger. The cold. The slow loss of her humanity. She was dying. Truly dying. Cale held her in his lap all night, wiping the sweat from her forehead, pressing cold water to her neck, refusing to sleep, refusing to rest, refusing to accept that he was going to lose the only person he'd ever loved. Let me say it. Ilara mumbled, delirious but clear, her hand clutching his shirt tight. Let me say I love you before I go. Cale's eyes turned red, tears burning the back of them, tears he hadn't shed in 2 years. Don't. He whispered, broken. Don't say it. If you say it, I'll never recover from losing you. I love you. She said anyway, soft and sure. I love your darkness. I love your cruelty. I love the way you're only gentle with me. I love the rotten, broken, violent man you are. I love you more than the whole dead world. Cale bowed his head against her shoulder, silent sobs shaking his body, the ruthless killer reduced to nothing but a man grieving his last chance at happiness. I love you too. He gasped out. So fucking much it's destroying me. I was fine alone. I was cold. I was empty. Then you came and ruined me. And I'm so grateful for it. Ilara's vision started to blur completely. Her fingers went numb. Her body began to shut down, the rot overriding her human functions. Promise me something. She whispered. If I turn, don't hesitate. Kill me fast. Don't suffer for me. Cale's grip tightened around her, crushing her to his chest, his voice raw and destroyed. I promise I'll kill you fast. But I also promise I'll never love anyone else. Ever. You're my only rotten vow. My only love. My only everything. Ilara smiled, weak and beautiful, and let her eyes fall shut. Her body went limp in his arms. Chapter 7. Miracle and Obsession. For 3 hours, Cale sat in the dark cave holding her lifeless body, waiting for her to turn, waiting for the moment he'd have to kill the only love of his life. He had his knife pressed to her skull, ready to end it in one clean move, exactly as he'd promised. But the turn never came. No twitching. No guttural moans. No rotting of the skin. Just slow, steady breathing returning to her chest. Cale froze, confused, disbelieving. He checked her pulse. Strong. Steady. He checked her wound. The bite mark was scabbed over, the red infection fading away completely. The rot was gone. Impossible. Unheard of. No one survived a full bite infection. But Ilara had. She was immune. A 1 in a million natural immunity to the zombie virus. The rarest thing in the apocalypse. Ilara's eyes fluttered open hours later, clear and bright, no fever, no fog, no trace of the infection that had almost killed her. She looked up at Cale's shocked face, confused. What happened? Cale stared at her like she was a miracle sent to save his broken soul, his dark obsession doubling into something eternal, unbreakable. You survived. He whispered, disbelieving. You're immune. Ilara's breath caught. The biggest apocalypse plot twist possible. Cale cupped her face in his hands, his eyes dark and possessive and infinitely loving. You're my miracle. He said, quiet and desperate. My only miracle. And now you're never leaving my side. Not ever. No more running. No more exes. No more danger taking you from me. Ilara laughed through tears, wrapping her arms around his neck, pulling him down to kiss her again, deeper, slower, forever. I'm yours. She whispered. Forever. Rotten vows and all. Chapter 8 The Immune Secret. Word of an immune survivor travels fast in the apocalypse. The horde at the cabin hadn't just attracted walkers. It had attracted patrols from the northern military compound, the last functional government stronghold left in the country. And they'd seen Ilara survive the bite. They'd seen her immunity. By dawn, the cave was surrounded by armed military soldiers, flashlights cutting through the darkness, voices booming loud and authoritative. Ilara Voss. Come out with your hands up. You are required for compound research. Ilara froze in Cale's arms, panic flaring instantly. She knew what military research meant in the apocalypse. Tests. Experiments. Isolation. Locked in a lab forever, poked and prodded, used to create a cure or die trying. She would no longer be a survivor. She would be a lab rat. Cale stood instantly, shielding her completely behind his body, his pistols raised, ready to fight an entire military unit for the girl he loved. His obsession was no longer just toxic love. It was war. They are not taking you. He snarled. Over my dead body. Ilara grabbed his arm, terrified but determined. Cale, there's dozens of them. We can't fight them all. Then we die together. He said without hesitation. I'd rather burn alive than let them lock you away from me. A soldier stepped forward from the crowd, a high-ranking officer with a cold, calculating gaze, Director Hale, the head of compound research. We don't want to hurt either of you. He said, calm and manipulative. We just want the immune girl. Help us create a cure. Save humanity. Cale laughed darkly. Humanity abandoned us the day the rot started. I only save her. Hale's expression hardened. You have two choices, survivor. Surrender the immune girl peacefully, or we kill you and take her by force. The ultimate conflict, military tyranny versus a brutal man's eternal love. Chapter 9 Run or Die. Cale didn't hesitate. He fired the first shot, taking down the lead soldier's rifle in one precise hit, disabling him without killing him, for now. Run! He shouted to Ilara. They sprinted deeper into the cave system, narrow stone tunnels winding deep into the mountain, darkness swallowing them whole. Bullets ricocheted off the stone walls behind them, soldiers chasing them down, shouting orders, closing in fast. Ilara ran faster than she ever had, her hand locked tight in Cale's, refusing to let go even for a second. They'll hunt us forever. She gasped. Once they know I'm immune, they'll never stop. Kale pulled her into a hidden side tunnel, pressing her against the stone wall, his body covering hers completely, shielding her from every danger. "Let them hunt us," he whispered, fierce and loving. "Let the entire broken world chase us. I'll outfight them all. I'll outrun them all. I'll burn every compound, kill every soldier, destroy every last person who tries to take you. You're mine, Ilara. Immune or not. Human or not. Alive or dead. Always mine." The military footsteps thundered closer, echoing through the tunnels. Their life on the run had just begun. A forbidden love, a immune secret, a brutal protector, and his miracle girl, fighting a broken world just to stay together. Chapter 10 Midnight Shelter. They escaped the mountain tunnel system 3 hours later, slipping through a hidden exit the military didn't know existed, emerging into a remote forest valley untouched by the outbreak's worst chaos. The sun was rising, painting the dead world in pale gold, a quiet beauty they'd never gotten to witness before. Kale pulled Ilara into his arms the second they were safe, kissing her like he'd never get to kiss her again, desperate and feverish and infinitely loving. No more fear. No more running. Just them. Ilara melted into him, her hands tangling in his dark hair, all her hesitation, all her fear, all her doubt gone completely. "We're fugitives now," she whispered against his lips. "Wanted by the last human compound. Hunted forever." Kale smiled, a rare, genuine smile that softened his brutal features. "Then we're fugitives together. Better than safe alone. Better than normal apart." He pulled back slightly, his hands cupping her face, his dark eyes staring straight into her soul. "I was born broken. I was born for darkness. I was born to kill and survive alone. But you were born to save me. To make me human again." Ilara's heart shattered in the best way possible. She leaned up, pressing her forehead to his, whispering their rotten, unbreakable vow. "In a world of the dead, we're the only alive thing left. No rules. No morals. No future. Just us. Forever." Kale kissed her again, slow and deep, sealing their promise with every breath. Outside their hidden valley, the world burned. Walkers roamed free. Military tyrants hunted innocent survivors. Civilization lay dead and rotting. But inside their small, perfect bubble of love, they were invincible. Chapter 11 Stalker Survivors. Their peace lasted exactly 48 hours. A small group of rogue survivors tracked their trail to the valley, scavengers who'd witnessed the military chase, who'd heard whispers of the immune girl worth millions in apocalypse currency. They wanted to kidnap Ilara, sell her to the highest bidder, trade her for safety, for supplies, for power. They snuck into the valley at dusk, silent and greedy, targeting Ilara while Kale was out scavenging water. Ilara was alone for 10 minutes. 10 minutes that almost destroyed everything. The two rogue men cornered her by the stream, grabbing her arms, yanking her forward, hands rough and violating. "The immune girl." One cackled. "We're rich. We're saved." Ilara fought hard, elbowing, kicking, screaming, but they were stronger, pinning her to the ground, one hand clamping over her mouth to muffle her cries. Panic exploded through her. Until a single gunshot rang out. The man on top of her dropped dead instantly. Kale stood 10 feet away, his pistol smoking, his face pure unfiltered rage, his eyes black with a madness Ilara had never seen before. He'd come back just in time. The second scavenger tried to run, but Kale was on him in a heartbeat, tackling him to the ground, his hands wrapping around the man's throat, squeezing hard enough to crush bone. "You touched her." Kale snarled, voice feral and unhinged. "You dare to touch what's mine. The man begged and sobbed, but Kale didn't stop. Ilara stood up, shaking, watching the man die under Kale's hands, watching the brutal, protective madness of the man who loved her. When it was over, Kale stood slowly, turning to her. His hands were covered in blood, his face cold and deadly, but the second his eyes locked on her trembling form, his rage shattered into pure terror. He ran to her, dropping his weapons, grabbing her face gently, checking every inch of her skin for injury. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? Tell me you're okay. He begged, desperate, unhinged. Ilara grabbed his bloody hands, pressing them to her chest, shaking her head. I'm fine. You saved me. I'm okay. Kale pulled her into his arms so tight it hurt, crushing her against his chest, his voice breaking completely. I can't lose you. I can't. If anyone takes you, if anyone hurts you, I'll burn the entire world to ash. I swear it. This was the dark romance core of them. His love was violent, obsessive, toxic, unhinged. But it was real. It was unbreakable. It was the only love left in the dead world. Chapter 12: The Cure Obsession. A week later, they discovered the truth no one knew, not the military, not the scientists, not any survivor alive. Ilara's immunity wasn't random. It was inherited. Her mother had been the original test subject for the virus before the outbreak. Ilara was born immune. Red immune. The rot wasn't a natural disaster. It was a man-made bioweapon. Created by the very military compound hunting her. They created the virus. They created her immunity. And now they wanted her back to finish what they started, create a cure, or weaponize her blood to end all human life. Ilara stared at the old research journal they found on the dead scavenger's body, her hands shaking in disbelief. They made the virus. She whispered. They destroyed the world. And now they want to use me to fix it. Kale stood behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder, his voice cold and resolute. Then we destroy them first. We don't run anymore. We fight back. We take down the compound. We end their tyranny. We burn their lies to the ground. Ilara tilted her head back against his chest, staring up at the grey apocalypse sky, a fierce, determined fire lighting in her eyes. Together, she said. Always together. Chapter 13: Preparing for War. For the next 2 weeks, they prepped for war. Kale trained Ilara to fight, to shoot, to kill walkers, to take down armed men, to survive the apocalypse without him by her side. He taught her every trick, every tactic, every brutal skill he'd learned in 2 years of solitary survival. He didn't coddle her. He didn't protect her from the violence. He made her strong, because he knew they were going to need every ounce of strength to win. And Ilara exceeded every expectation. The soft, gentle girl who once feared death turned into a ruthless, fearless fighter, matching Kale's brutality, matching his fire, becoming his equal in every way. They fought side by side every day, clearing walker hordes, looting military supply stashes, collecting weapons and ammo, building their army of two. Their love grew sharper, hotter, more passionate with every battle. They were no longer a broken man and a dying girl. They were a force. Unstoppable. Unbreakable. Rotten and beautiful and fierce. At night, after every fight, after every kill, they found peace in each other's arms, the only peace the apocalypse had to offer. When this is over, Kale whispered one night, holding her close under the stars. If we win, if we survive, I'm never letting you fight again. I'm never letting you fear anything again. Ilara smiled, kissing his jaw. I don't want you to protect me from the world. I want to fight it with you. I want to be your partner, You're equal. You're forever. Chapter 14 Final March to the Compound. They marched on the northern military compound at dawn, two lovers against the last remaining power structure of the broken world. The compound was surrounded by high fences, armed snipers, guard towers, walker moats, impenetrable to any normal survivor group. But Kale and Ilara were not normal. They snuck past the snipers, slipped through the walker moat undetected, breached the outer fence, and infiltrated the compound from the underground service tunnels no one else knew existed. Every step was silent. Every move calculated. Every kill clean and brutal. They took down patrol after patrol, moving deeper into the compound, closer to the research labs, closer to Director Hale, closer to the truth that destroyed the world. Halfway through the compound, they split up, Kale to take down the security team, Ilara to infiltrate the lab and destroy the virus research data forever. The hardest choice of their lives, separate, to win the war together. If anything goes wrong, Kale said, gripping her face one last time, his voice desperate. Run. Don't fight. Don't stay. Live for me. Ilara shook her head fiercely, tears in her eyes. I don't run from you. Not ever. If you die, I die with you. They kissed hard, a final goodbye kiss before war, then split into the shadows. Chapter 15 Lab Showdown. Ilara reached the research lab first. The room was lined with computers, virus samples, blood work, decades of illegal bioweapon research. Screens displayed her DNA, her immunity profile, her mother's test records, the full proof of the military's crime against humanity. Director Hale stood waiting for her in the center of the lab, like he'd known she was coming all along. I've been waiting for you, Ilara. He said calmly. You're the key to everything. The cure. The new world. The end of the rot. You created this virus. Ilara accused, voice sharp. You destroyed billions of lives for power. Hale shrugged coldly. Progress requires sacrifice. Your mother sacrificed herself for the research. Now you will too. He pressed a button on his desk. Steel doors slammed shut, locking Ilara inside the lab, trapping her completely. Your boyfriend's dying outside. Hale smiled cruelly. My security team is killing him right now. You'll be alone soon. Just you and me. An endless testing. Ilara's blood ran cold. Kale. She raised her gun, ready to fight, ready to die, ready to burn the lab to the ground. But before she could move, gunfire erupted outside the lab doors, loud and relentless. The steel doors exploded inward. Kale stepped through the wreckage, smoke curling off his tactical vest, blood streaked down his jaw and forearms. His pistol was raised, steady as steel, and his eyes locked only on Ilara, ignoring Director Hale entirely, as if the mad scientist was nothing but a rotting walker blocking his path. Every bullet wound on his body burned, every cut stinging raw, but none of it mattered. Nothing existed except the girl trapped in the lab, the girl they'd tried to take from him. Touch her, Kale said, his voice low, shredded from gunfights and exertion, and I erase every last trace of you from this world. Hale's calm facade shattered in an instant. He stepped back, hands flying to a hidden emergency pistol beneath his lab desk, his face twisting with rage and panic. You think a broken rogue survivor can take down my entire compound? My soldiers are still flooding the halls. You're outnumbered, outgunned, out of time. I've been outmatched every day for 2 years. Kale advanced step by step, boots crushing shards of metal and glass beneath his feet. I still survived. For her. Ilara's chest ached as she stared at him. He was battered, bleeding, barely standing, yet he'd fought through an entire security team, just to get back to her. No army, no weapon, No mad scientist could ever break the vow he'd whispered in that dark cave. She raised her own gun, stepping forward to stand shoulder to shoulder with him, no longer the scared, dying girl he'd saved on the highway. She was his equal. His fighter. His immune miracle. "I'm not your test subject," Ilara snapped at Hale, her voice sharp and unshakable. "I'm not a cure. I'm not a weapon. I'm alive, and you don't get to steal my life to fix the mess you made." Hale's lips curled into a cold, lunatic smile. He gestured to the wall of monitors lining the lab, every screen flashing violent red data, scrolling rapidly with genetic sequences and viral simulation models. "You don't understand your own value, child. Your mother failed the trial. Her immunity was unstable, temporary. But yours? Perfect. Flawless. You are the only successful human bioweapon this world has ever produced." Ilara froze. A cold, sick dread coiled tight in her stomach. Bioweapon? Yes. Hale's eyes glinted with fanatic obsession. "Your blood doesn't just resist the rot, it suppresses it, rewrites it. With you, we don't just cure the apocalypse. We control it. We create super soldiers immune to infection. We rebuild humanity under our rule. All I need is your full genetic extraction." Kale's finger tightened on his trigger, his rage simmering to a deadly boil. "You're not touching a single drop of her blood." Hale laughed, hollow and bitter. "You think you have a choice. The second I pressed that lockdown button, I activated the compound's emergency protocol. Every outer gate is sealed. Every hallway is on lockdown. Every remaining soldier is converging on this lab. You two are trapped here with me." Heavy, thunderous footsteps echoed from the corridor outside, growing louder by the second. Dozens of boots, disciplined and relentless, closing in fast. Ilara's jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. She tilted her head toward Kale, her voice quiet, but resolute, only for him to hear. "We fight together. Like always." Kale's gaze flicked to hers, and for a split second, all his brutality melted away. There was only devotion, raw, unhinged, eternal. "Always." Hale raised his pistol, aiming straight for Ilara's chest, no hesitation, no mercy. "I'd rather kill you than let you fall into anyone else's hands. A dead immune girl is still useful for research. A free one is a disaster." He fired. Kale moved faster than thought, shoving Ilara hard behind his body, taking the bullet straight in his ribs. The impact slammed him backward, a sharp, pained grunt tearing from his throat, blood blooming dark and fast across his tactical vest. "Kale!" Ilara screamed, her voice breaking. Panic exploded through her, hot and violent, overriding every ounce of her composure. She'd never felt terror like this, not when the walker bit her, not when the horde chased them, not when the military hunted them down. The thought of losing him destroyed her. Kale stumbled, but he didn't fall. His vision blurred with pain, his breathing ragged, but his grip on his gun never wavered. He locked his sights on Hale and fired twice, precise, brutal shots that grazed the scientist's shoulder and pinned his sleeve to the metal desk behind him. Hale yelped, stumbling back, his pistol clattering to the lab floor. "You stubborn bastard," Hale snarled, bleeding heavily. "You'd die for a girl who was born to end the world." Kale's chest heaving, blood seeping through his fingers, as he pressed a palm to his bleeding wound. His voice was rough, barely audible, but infinitely fierce. "She was born to save me. That's all that matters." The first wave of soldiers burst through the broken lab doors, flooding the room, rifles raised, shouts echoing off the steel walls. "Surrender or be terminated." Ilara stepped forward, placing herself half in front of the wounded Kale, her gun steady, her hands no longer shaking. The gentle, fragile girl was gone. In her place stood a survivor forged by loss, by love, by war. "Don't touch him," she warned, her voice cold and deadly. "I'll burn every last file, every virus sample, every piece of your research. I'll destroy everything you've built." Hale grinned through his pain, delirious with madness. "Burn it. I have backups. Offline servers. Hidden labs across the country. You can't stop the truth, Ilara. Your existence is the key to everything." Cale gritted his teeth, pushing through the agony in his side to wrap an arm tight around Ilara's waist, anchoring her to him. His touch was warm despite his bleeding wound, steady despite his fading strength. "Then we burn it all slowly." The gunfight erupted seconds later. Bullets flew through the air, ricocheting off steel tables and glass monitors, shattering screens, sending shards of data and broken code raining across the lab floor. Cale fired one-handed, his aim still flawless even wounded, dropping soldier after soldier before they could get close to Ilara. Ilara fought beside him, sharp and precise, no longer hiding behind his strength. She picked off stragglers, covered his blind spots, cleared paths when he stumbled from blood loss. They moved in perfect sync, two broken souls turned unbeatable force. But the soldiers kept coming, endless and relentless, pouring into the lab from every entry point. Cale's vision started to gray at the edges. Blood loss was crippling him, draining his strength fast. His legs shook, his breath shallow and labored. "Cale!" Ilara cried, noticing his falter. She turned fully toward him, pressing her hand hard over his bleeding wound, trying to stem the endless flow of red. "Stay with me. Please stay with me." He looked down at her, his dark eyes softening completely, no fight left in them, only love. "I'm okay," he lied quietly, his thumb brushing her cheek, smearing blood across her skin. "Just keep going. Finish this." "I'm not finishing this without you." She sobbed, angry and terrified and desperate. "We don't do alone anymore. We never did." Hale watched them, his madness fading into cold, cruel amusement as he leaned against his desk, clutching his bleeding shoulder. "It's touching. Truly. The apocalypse's greatest love story. But it ends today. You'll watch him die, Ilara. Then you'll spend the rest of your life in my lab, cutting open, testing, bleeding, saving a world that never deserved you." Ilara's head snapped toward him, her eyes blazing with rage. A desperate, reckless plan sparked to life in her mind, one only her unique immunity could pull off. She lowered her gun. Cale's eyes widened in panic. "Ilara, don't." Before anyone could react, before Cale could stop her, before the soldiers could fire, Ilara grabbed a broken vial of active rot virus from the shattered lab table beside her. Clear, lethal liquid sloshed inside, the same pathogen that had ended civilization. Hale's eyes bulged in shock. "Drop that. That's unstable." Ilara's fingers tightened around the glass. She held it high, her voice ringing clear over the gunfire and shouts, unshakable. "I'm immune. This virus can't kill me. But it can kill every single one of your soldiers. It can burn through this entire compound in minutes." She paused, staring straight at Hale. "Shut down the lockdown. Pull back every soldier. Surrender all your research. Or I shatter this vial and drown this entire facility in the rot you created." The room froze. Every soldier's rifle froze mid-aim. Every breath stilled. Hale's face turned white with terror and fury, trapped by his own creation. "You're bluffing." Ilara tilted the vial, letting a single drop of the lethal virus drip toward her unbroken skin. "Try me." Cale stared at her, stunned, a raw, fierce pride mixing with terror in his chest. His girl. His brave, reckless, perfect girl. She'd never needed him to save her. She'd always been capable of burning the world down for them both. Hale's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. He knew she wasn't bluffing. He'd read her genetic files. Tested her blood. She truly couldn't be infected. She truly was the only person alive who could weaponize the virus without dying. Stand down. Hale roared at his soldiers, voice shaking. All units stand down. The soldiers hesitated, then slowly lowered their weapons, stepping backward, uncertain and terrified of the virus in Ilara's hand. Hale turned back to her, seething, defeated but still dangerous. What do you want? Ilara's answer was immediate. Destroy every file. Every test record. Every backup server. Erase every trace of my mother's research, my immunity, and this virus. Permanently. Hale hesitated. Now. Ilara's voice sharpened. Or we all die here today. Hale finally nodded, trembling with rage, fumbling with his desktop terminal, typing fast, wiping decades of illegal bioweapon research from existence. Screen after screen went black, data erased, files corrupted beyond repair. When the last file vanished, Ilara lowered the vial, but she didn't let go. Open the exit tunnels. Disable all security. Let us leave. Hale obeyed, slamming his palm against the override button. A loud hydraulic hiss echoed through the lab as the steel doors unlocked, the compound-wide lockdown lifted. The second the path was clear, Hale pulled Ilara tight against his side, his injured body screaming in pain, but his grip unbreakable. We go. Now. They backed toward the open tunnel entrance together, Ilara still holding the virus vial hostage, keeping every soldier frozen in place. But as they reached the threshold, Hale spoke one last time, quiet and venomous, a final curse hanging in the air. You think you've won? The virus is out there. The rot doesn't die with my files. One day, someone else will find your secret. Someone worse than me. And they will hunt you until the end of time. Ilara didn't look back. Let them hunt. I'm not running anymore. I'm not hiding. I'm living. She and Hale stepped into the dark service tunnel, and the doors slammed shut behind them, sealing the mad scientist and his ruined compound away forever. The tunnel was quiet, empty, safe for the first time all day. The second they were alone, Hale's strength finally gave out. He stumbled, collapsing to his knees, dragging Ilara down gently with him, his body overcome by blood loss and pain. Hale. Ilara dropped the virus vial carefully on the tunnel floor, spinning to cradle his face, pressing her forehead to his, tears spilling freely now that they were safe. I'm here. I'm right here. Don't leave me. He gasped for breath, his fingers weakly curling into the fabric of her shirt, clinging to her like she was his last breath. I almost lost you, he whispered hoarsely. When he locked you in here. I thought I'd never get you back. You didn't lose me, she cried, pressing soft, desperate kisses to his blooded forehead, his cheeks, his trembling lips. You'll never lose me. Not in this world. Not in any world. Hale stared up at her, his dark eyes glistening with raw emotion, the same man who'd killed without hesitation, who'd survived 2 years of pure darkness, undone entirely by one girl's love. I used to think the apocalypse ruined everything, he murmured. But it gave me you. The only good thing left alive. Ilara smiled through her tears, brushing blood-soaked hair from his face, her voice soft and sure, their rotten vow reborn in the dark tunnel. We're the good thing now. Us. Broken, bloody, rotten, alive. Forever. She tore strips from her shirt, pressing them hard to his bullet wound, wrapping it tight to stop the bleeding, her hand steady, her mind focused entirely on saving him the way he'd saved her countless times. Outside the tunnel, the military compound fell into chaos. Soldiers fought among themselves without Hale's command, unsecured walkers breached the outer fences, the entire tyrannical system crumbling from the inside out. The world they'd hated was burning. But their world, small, fierce, theirs, was finally free. When the bleeding finally slowed, Ilara helped Kale stand, supporting his weight as they walked slowly through the dark tunnel, toward the distant glow of sunrise at the exit. Kale leaned his head on top of hers as they walked, quiet and content for the first time in years. "What now?" he asked softly. Ilara looked up at the faint light ahead, at the endless, open apocalypse stretching before them, no hunters, no labs, no lies. Just them. "Now we live," she said. "No more running. No more fighting for survival. We fight for each other." Kale squeezed her hand, his voice low and devoted, a promise sealed in blood and love. "Rotten vows, always." The sun crested the horizon as they stepped out of the tunnel, painting the dead world in golden light. The war was over. The tyranny was broken. Their forbidden, dark, unbreakable love had outlived the apocalypse itself.